Madridistas, we have arrived at the third story of the day, and let me tell you something from the very start. This one is the true bombshell. This is the kind of news that shakes the foundations of the club, the kind that splits fan bases in half, that turns peaceful supporters' gatherings into heated debates, that fuels endless television confrontations, radio discussions, and YouTube breakdowns for weeks and weeks. Because what is happening right now on the Real Madrid bench is not a simple slump, not a temporary rough patch, not a momentary dip in an otherwise stable season. No, Madridistas, what we are witnessing is a turning point, a dramatic, unexpected shift that could define the immediate future of the club. Xabi Alonso, the man who only a few days ago was being hailed as the architect of the new Madrid, the mastermind behind what seemed to be a reborn identity, now finds himself in the most delicate and critical situation since the moment he took charge. The narrative around him has flipped with astonishing speed. He has gone from surfing a wave of absolute euphoria, an euphoria that exploded after that victory in El Clasico, when it felt as if the team had rediscovered its rhythm, its personality, its swagger, to sinking into a deep state of concern, almost bordering on alarm, after a sequence of 3 highly concerning results that have shattered, in a matter of days, the feeling of control that had surrounded the team. That cloud we were all floating on, Madridistas, it has vanished. Completely. As if it had never existed. The league advantage that once looked untouchable, steady, nearly guaranteed, has evaporated right in front of our eyes. The defeat at Anfield, painful, perplexing, a performance full of shadows, combined with draws against Rayo Vallecano and Elche, 2 matches that on paper should have been routine, almost automatic victories, have not only cost the team valuable points. They have cost something far more alarming, the team's footballing identity. This Real Madrid feels unrecognizable. A team without ideas, without spark, without a clear tactical script. A team that seems incapable of reacting, incapable of expressing itself, incapable of showing personality. When it gets hit, it stays on the canvas. When it falls, it does not know how to get up. And you know it as well as I do, Madridistas. When that happens, when the team loses its pulse, the dressing room stops believing. The relationship between coach and player, so fragile by nature, begins to fracture. When the message stops resonating, when instructions feel repetitive or inconsistent, when the tactical plan changes every week without providing stability, the players start to drift away emotionally. And this is where things get truly serious. Internal sources, people inside the club, those who live the day-to-day dynamic, suggest that part of the dressing room no longer fully backs Xabi Alonso. Some players believe his message has become predictable, that the tactical ideas lack coherence, and that the team has no solid foundation to rely on when matches become difficult. And while the dressing room hesitates, the alarms are sounding upstairs. Florentino Perez, a president who has never been known for tolerating projects that fail to connect, has reportedly expressed his concern openly and directly. Results are needed now. Visible change. Immediate reaction. Real Madrid cannot afford a project that does not truly reach the players, and several members of the board agree that Xabi Alonso is struggling to establish his footballing philosophy. The team feels disorganized. The defense looks fragile. The midfield no longer imposes itself. And the attack seems lost, uncertain, lacking direction. The results speak for themselves. And Madridistas, in this club, when the results speak, decisions are made. Cold. Objective. Relentless. That is the Real Madrid way. And now comes the real explosion. The news capable of shaking the entire football world. The one that, if confirmed, will dominate headlines, debates, and conversations everywhere. Zinedine Zidane may be entering the scene again. Yes. You heard that correctly. Zidane. The man himself. The coach who delivered 3 consecutive Champions League titles. The man who knows the dressing room like the back of his hand. The man who has a unique relationship with Florentino Perez. The man who, according to multiple sources, has already received a phone call to ask about his availability. For some players, his return would be a dream. For others, a path back to stability. For part of the fanbase, a comforting return to a familiar hero. For another part, a step backwards into old methods. But beyond opinions and emotions, one thing is crystal clear. The Real Madrid bench is shaking. Something huge is moving behind the scenes. And the future of Xabi Alonso hangs by the thinnest thread imaginable, so thin that a single more mistake could break it completely. Madridistas, prepare yourselves. Because what is happening right now is only the beginning. Yes, you read that correctly, Madridistas. Zinedine Zidane, the master, the legend, the architect of one of the brightest golden eras in recent Real Madrid history, could be closer than ever to returning to the white bench. And let's be absolutely clear from the beginning, this is not a summer rumor designed to fill empty headlines, nor a baseless speculation cooked up for idle talk.
No.
According to important reports coming from France, from journalists close to Zidane's entourage, from media outlets that historically have nailed stories of this magnitude, there have already been discreet contacts, carefully managed conversations, both formal and informal, the kind of phone calls that never appear on any official registry but that, as always happens in elite football, are enough to set off alarm bells across Europe while simultaneously igniting the hope of millions of Real Madrid fans. Nothing official, of course. Nothing that Florentino Perez or Zidane could confirm publicly. But solid enough, serious enough, to understand that the board of Real Madrid has activated a deep internal evaluation process. A strategic analysis. A complete assessment of whether a plan B is needed. And what better plan B than Zidane? We are talking about a coach who understands every corner of the club, who knows the Bernabeu's pressure like few others, who has successfully managed 2 different Real Madrid squads filled with superstars without losing control for even a second. Zidane does not need introductions. He doesn't need explanations, presentations, nor grand speeches. His presence alone transforms everything. Just walking through the gates of Valdebebas imposes respect, stability, and calm. He radiates a sort of natural leadership, an aura that cannot be taught nor manufactured, that commands authority the moment he steps into a room. He is a reference point not only for veterans who experience glory with him, but also for the younger players who grew up idolizing his goals, his impossible first touches, his elegant movement, and his unique way of interpreting football not as a sport, but as an artistic discipline. Any player in the world, from a Ballon d'Or winner to an academy youngster, listens to Zidane and respects him instantly. Automatically. Instinctively. That level of respect cannot be built through press conferences or tactical diagrams. It is the kind of intangible power that only the legends possess. That magnetic aura that reorganizes a dressing room, clears confused minds, calms anxious hearts, and brings a sense of purpose to even the most difficult decisions. And right now, Madridistas, Real Madrid is living through a moment in which clarity, calmness, and leadership are urgently needed. The team has lost confidence, lost identity, lost its emotional sharpness. The players look disconnected, the structure feels shaky, and the results have opened psychological wounds. Zidane's return could act as the emotional earthquake needed to rebuild morale and refocus minds. On top of all this, Zidane has never broken his emotional attachment to Real Madrid. Even after leaving the club twice, the mutual respect has never faded. Every time he speaks about the institution, he does so with affection and admiration. And everyone around him knows something simple and powerful. If Real Madrid calls, Zidane listens. If the board presents a convincing plan, Zidane considers it. And if the stars align, Zidane says yes. That alone is enough to electrify the Madridista world. Meanwhile, Xabi Alonso faces a calendar that looks like a gladiator trial. While the storm grows louder above him, Xabi Alonso is entering the most terrifying stretch of the season, a sequence of matches that feels almost designed to test the psychological strength of any manager. A run that would make even the most experienced coach sweat. What comes next is lethal. No room for hesitation. No room for fear. No room for fragility. The first test, a trip to Greece to face Olympiacos. A classic trap match. A stadium that turns into a cauldron, a hostile environment fueled by one of the loudest fan bases in Europe. A game that many giants have historically failed to control. If Madrid arrives with doubts, Olympiacos will exploit them ruthlessly. Then, the journey intensifies. 2 consecutive away matches at Girona and Athletic Club. 2 stadiums that demand intensity, mental focus, tactical order, and physical endurance. These are the kinds of away fixtures where championships can be lost and where fragile teams collapse. After surviving, if they survive, that high-risk tour, Real Madrid returns to the Bernabeu to face Celta Vigo. In normal circumstances, this would be the kind of match used to rebuild confidence, recover sensations, and calm the waters. But the current atmosphere changes everything. Every misplaced pass will be whistled. Every tactical doubt will be magnified. Every moment of weakness will be interpreted as a sign that the project is collapsing. The fans will demand a commanding victory, a dominant performance, a statement win. And then comes the final exam, the match that could define everything. Manchester City at the Santiago Bernabéu. A clash that is much more than a simple game. A clash that has shaped modern European football. Guardiola versus Real Madrid, one of the most intense and symbolic rivalries of the last decade. If Real Madrid enters that match in crisis, with tension growing and results declining, and if they lose at home against the most dominant team of modern football, the consequences could be immediate. Very immediate. It is widely believed inside the club that such a scenario would create enormous pressure for Xabi Alonso's dismissal. And in that exact moment, Zidane could step in without transition. No delays. No hesitation. A return that would shake the whole of Europe. Now, Madridistas, I want to give you my opinion with absolute clarity. No filters, no softening, no sugarcoating, no carefully polished phrases. Because if there is one thing that separates Real Madrid from every other club on this planet, it is precisely this. Here, the truth is spoken plainly, and excellence is demanded every single day. And today, more than ever, we need to lay all our cards on the table. Let's start with something essential. The board is doing what needs to be done. We may agree or disagree on the nuances. We can debate the timing, the approach, the particular methods. But the core of it all is undeniable. They are acting exactly as an elite club must act. And let me make this absolutely clear from the very beginning. This is not a personal attack on Xabi Alonso, nor is it a dismissal of his history or his value as a club legend. Xavi is a respected professional, a man who understands the weight of the badge, a coach who has shown courage, commitment, and a tactical identity that many young managers would envy. But, and here lies the truth that defines Real Madrid, this is not a club where you can afford months of uncertainty, extended experimentation, or long periods of tactical trial and error. This is not a club where you get time to adapt. There are no excuses here. There is no patience. There is no transition phase. At Real Madrid, there is only black or white. You win or you go. It is as simple, as brutal, and as real as that. And that, Madridistas, is both the club's greatest virtue and its greatest curse. The pressure here transforms people. It either elevates you into legend, or ejects you from the system. And right now, the team is sending unmistakable signals. Something is not working. The team does not understand the system. The players do not respond to the ideas. The results do not come. You can see it. In the lack of fluidity between lines, in the defensive uncertainty, in the absence of clarity when it's time to attack. The dressing room seems confused, as if trying to follow a roadmap that has not been fully understood. And when this happens at Real Madrid, the alarm bell rings instantly. No club in the world detects weakness faster. And in this context, in this exact moment, Zidane represents the ideal solution. Not because his name sounds good. Not out of nostalgic desire. Not because it's romantic. But because he is a guarantee. A guarantee of experience. A guarantee of trophies. A guarantee of charisma. A guarantee of automatic respect in the dressing room. A guarantee of a footballing model that has already proven, multiple times, that it works at the very highest level. You don't win 3 consecutive Champions League titles by accident. 3 consecutive Champions Leagues mean dominance, mentality, leadership, an understanding of Real Madrid's essence that no manual, no philosophy, and no tactical board can teach. You can't improvise that. You can't fake that. You can't replicate that. That is pure history. That is a legacy only a handful of managers in football history can claim. Now, some will say it's too early to judge Xabi Alonso. That he needs time. That real projects require patience and continuity. And yes, all of that may be true, in almost any other club in the world. But not at Real Madrid. Here, there is no too early. There is no give it time. There is no better days will come. At Real Madrid, every week matters, every match matters, every tactical detail matters. Because the club is competing with the best teams in Europe, teams with astronomically high budgets, elite coaches, and rosters that punish the slightest moment of weakness. In this kind of brutal ecosystem, if you disconnect for 2 weeks, The competition destroys you. If you slip for 2 months, you lose everything. The board knows this. Florentino Perez knows this. And that is why Real Madrid already has a plan B prepared. Not because they want to fire anyone, but because at this club, you plan today for what may happen tomorrow. It is elite survival. It is competitive intelligence. It is the formula that has kept this club at the top for more than a century. The next few weeks will be absolutely decisive, perhaps the most important of the entire season. Xabi Alonso has one final chance to show that he can reverse the crisis, reconnect with the squad, restore authority, and bring back that aura of superiority that must always accompany Real Madrid. If he manages to turn the tide, if he gets the players believing again, if the team starts competing as a united bloc, then all of us will stand behind him. But if he doesn't, Zidane will be there, waiting, watching, preparing, ready to return home, ready to take the reins of the club he knows better than anyone else, ready to restore order where there is chaos, confidence where there is doubt, and identity where there is confusion. Madridistas, this is only the beginning. The next days will be intense, tense, frenetic. There will be noise. There will be debate. There will be media pressure. There will be nerves. But at the end of the day, as always, only one thing matters: Real Madrid. Only one thing matters: winning. Only one thing matters: continuing to write history, match by match, season by season, decade after decade. Because this badge does not wait. This badge does not forgive. This badge demands excellence. HALA Madrid, why not a Mas?